Hey guys, welcome to the Perfectly Wasted podcast. I'm the host, DullOxide. Today's episode 66 on Junkensteins Revenge, which is the Halloween-themed special event in Overwatch currently. You can find all of my previous episodes on the Drinking Wisemen YouTube channel, along with my very sporadic now podcast, Brew the Truth, all my day-to-day photos, cat photos on my Instagram, at DullOxide. So Junkensteins Revenge is, as I stated, the seasonal Halloween play mode that they've incorporated into Overwatch that was actually released last year and that they have re-released again this year. And basically what it is that you go to Castle Junkenstein and you have to defeat a bunch of zombie robots, if you will. And they're called zombics, I believe. So you have to beat all of them inside of certain difficulties, and then you have to beat a certain number of actual spawns of like enemy characters, and then you beat the level. And it's got the standard 4 difficulty. They have an endless mode that they've incorporated again this year, and in the endless mode it's not actually necessarily endless because you can actually beat it, but there is kind of like there's a countdown timer, and then stuff just continuously spawns over and over again, and it's not quite like the normal mode. In the normal mode, there's like timings to things, and in endless mode, there aren't any timings, so it just kind of goes like batshit crazy. So something that a lot of people are complaining about inside of this is that they think that the achievements to be able to get the new sprays are just a little bit too hard. And while I kind of agree with them, I kind of disagree, because it's more so that people aren't paying attention to the patterns that are inside of the game, in my opinion, than it is that they're too hard. So I believe that the endless mode achievements are quite difficult compared to the normal play mode difficulties. So even I've gone through so far, and I've gotten all the way to the 3rd level elite, and I've beaten that and gotten the achievements that you can get up to that point, and then the next one would of course be legendary. But what I noticed along the way is that every single play mode inside of the normal mode kind of just increases the difficulty a little bit more off of the same timing. So initially what I did is, me and my friend, we went into games and we started playing, and we started realizing that for whatever reason, a lot of people playing in the mode don't know how to focus DPS on the things that need to be focused. So he and I just took it upon ourselves. We locked in on damage instantly, and we started winning. So we started getting the achievements and then continuing on into the next game mode and the next game mode and so forth, and until we just kind of started running through the achievements and collecting them. And now we're at a point that we have, I think, 6 of the achievements out of, I believe there's 8 of them. And I think that we're probably going to get all of the achievements before the event ends. But the reason that we've gotten good at getting the achievements at this point is because we literally started timing things. So we went through and we watched the timer, and then we started writing down in a notepad when stuff started happening for the regular game mode, and lo and behold, because they're always the same events at the same time, you're able to know exactly what happens, when it happens, where it happens. So the one thing I did find interesting is that inside of the endless mode, all of the rip tires or the shock tires that come through are randomized, whereas in normal mode, they're always in the same spot. So it makes it a lot easier for you to be able to know where you're supposed to be targeting at what time. So if you have someone on your team sitting there looking at the timings, and then they call it off as things are about to happen, rip tire, shock tire on the right, in the middle, on the left, that kind of thing, then you know what you're going to have to deal with. And the reason that we kind of realized that the timings seem to stay the same through all the normal mode difficulties is because we played through hard with that timing, and then after we beat hard, we went to the elite mode, and in elite, we were able to see that the timings were exactly the same, except they added in just, I think it was 1 additional rip tire and 1 more spawn of Reaper, and with that, we just kind of can add to it. So we know that the difficulty increases as the monsters become more, they have more health and so forth, maybe a couple more spawns in certain sections of the match, but overall, I think that all of the levels of difficulty for a normal mode, at least, are doable. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, I haven't seen very many places that have put up the timing for all of the regular modes yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it inside of my comments down below, inside of the description of the episode. It probably isn't going to help very many people. There more than likely is walkthroughs that are a little bit more helpful. But honestly, any amount of help helps. So I'm just going to put it inside of the description. You'll be able to see it down there. And as I stated, if you needed to go to a harder difficulty, more than likely the list is going to be able to help you. You're just going to have to keep your eyes open for a couple extra spawns. So the one thing that I also noticed is that in endless mode, people seem to be they seem to be choosing poor placement for things like the Torbjorn turret, all right? And there's a lot of different strategies that I see people do, and there's a lot of things that they could be doing better, and basically it just seems like people don't understand how to beat it. And while I haven't gone through and, I did beat Elite Endless, but I haven't gotten the 4 bonus rounds, and while I haven't done these things, I understand the concept of how you should be playing certain characters at certain times. Now, there's a couple of characters that are awesome in this mode, and those characters are going to be Torbjorn. You're going to have McCree. Anna is really good if you're going to be ulting McCree, which seems like it is probably the best way to go about the later levels, the later difficulties, because that extra ult that you get, that extra damage, is just much, much better when you're going through and you have to deal with, like, the witch, for instance. When you could do your shot with the witch and get the extra damage and get the speed up of your ult so that you could shoot it faster and not have to die, basically, it really tremendously helps. Also, Zenyatta is really great, but I wouldn't recommend doing both the healers inside of the same match because it kind of just dips off of your damage. Now, the alternative for another healer instead of playing 2 healers and 2 damage dealers would be that basically you have to have Torbjorn because it just does so much more damage with the turret and with you being able to shoot. You pretty much have to have your McCree because his ult is just a necessity, and then you kind of have to choose between the 2 others, essentially. I mean, you could choose Widow, but Widowmaker isn't really that great, in my opinion. It just takes too long for her to charge up her shot to be able to do damage, to kill things, essentially, to do max damage. It is good if you have a good Widowmaker, but unfortunately, I just haven't been in many rounds that people have been too good with her inside of this specific game mode. Then you have, your standard Soldier. Soldier is great because it gives you another heal, even though it's not like the best heal. And he's got his scatter shot, and he also has his regular and his ult, so he can focus down tires. He can focus down enemies. Those are all really good things to have. And of course, you have Hanzo's, and Hanzo's kind of iffy because you have to have a person that's generally good with Hanzo for it to be able to be well played throughout the entire match. But basically, what my suggestion would be, if you're going to go through these modes, and what I've had the most success with in this specific mode, and with Endless in specific also, is to always have a Torbjorn, and to always have a McCree, and additionally 1 healer, and then either of the other 2 damagers, either a Hanzo or the Soldier. And realistically, it just depends on who the person's best with. So if you can get a 4-man going, that's great. If you're going to be the person that's on your team that is going to do damage because you've noticed no one else really does damage, then I would suggest insta-locking in on either Torbjorn or on McCree. And if you're really good as a support, then, insta-locking a support is just fantastic, because basically in this game mode I've seen most people just leave. If they come in and they see 2 insta-locks and they only have a choice between like one of the other 2 damage dealers and a healer, they're probably just going to leave and try and insta-lock on damage. Unfortunately, I've had really bad luck with people that have insta-locked on damage against me. When I go into a match and I see that someone else has already chosen McCree and somebody else either has Soldier already or Torbjorn, I basically just leave out and then re-queue because there's no point in playing it. Unfortunately, like I stated, I've had really bad luck. People just can't do the damage necessary to beat the level. So that's what I would suggest. Try and get with some people. If you find some people that you've queued with that are relatively good, maybe try and stay with them and try and accomplish it. Team chat isn't necessary, but it does help a tremendous amount, especially if people on your team are willing to listen. And if you're going through the normal modes, the timing just really helps a tremendous amount. So go ahead and look at the timings I'm going to post down below. I'm also going to include an article that I found that has the legendary timings in it. I'm not sure how accurate it is, but it's worth looking at, especially if you're having some trouble with legendary mode. So if you do enjoy this game mode, and if you have any suggestions and tips for this, by all means let me know. Do comment down below, and please let me know what you thought of the episode. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, again, let me know. Comment down below. And as always, that was 10 minutes perfectly wasted.